Today is March 14th. This is the Fair Election Commission monthly meeting. We meet the second Wednesday of each month, starting at 5:30 at this time. And for today's agenda, which doesn't seem to be too long, we'll have the commission report. We'll have the chair report. We will have the vice chair report. That will be me today to assist John. And then we will have our discussion. The commission will on what you would like the commission activities to look like, what you choose in terms of volunteering, serving on boards, things of that nature, which was our biggest takeaway from last month's meeting in February. So with that, I would like to if we have any public guests to welcome you. Thank you for joining us today, and this meeting is recorded. So with that, welcome Charlie, our chair. And I think we have a quorum, right? We can approve February's meetings.
Is there a motion to approve February's minutes?
So moved.
Second?
So seconded.
All in favor? Or
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Okay, so I'll jump into the chair's report. We have 8 candidates have pre-registered. So far, only 3 have been approved or qualified. And of those, 1 has maxed out. So that's always what we hope, that we can have candidates that are able to raise enough money that they can max out on the funds contribution. And we're hoping that we will get from the remaining 5 who applied or pre-applied, that we will get reports from them soon, so we can start distributing funds. It's also worthy to note that we sent around for Shannon Sneed her 6th supplemental, and I think I've heard from everyone that there were no concerns, and that people concurred with the State Board of Elections recommendation to grant that request. Were there any questions or concerns about the Sneed 6th distribution or the Sneed campaign? Okay. Then I think our virtual vote then, well, actually we have a quorum. So since we have a quorum and we have an approval in front of us, can we have a motion to approve the Sneed campaign 6 distribution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposed? Okay, so the distribution is approved. And since we're here, let's do the 3rd distribution for Zach Blanchard, which was distributed to you earlier, and many of you have concurred through email. But since we're here, can we have a motion to approve the distribution to Zach Blanchard?
So
Okay, so there's a move. Then Paris, I'm going to say, is that a second?
Seconded, yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the Zach Blanchard campaign, the final distribution is approved. And that is all, I guess. Oh, there's key campaign finance date. The last day to qualify as a certified candidate is March 31st, which is just about 2 weeks away. So we might have more than 8. Oh no, I guess the remaining 5 have to actually certify by that time. So we'll see what happens. I know there are candidates who are talking about the public financing the Fair Elections Fund on the campaign trail. So we'll see if they actually certify. And that will conclude my report. I'll turn it over to Nadine.
I just pulled up the schedule that I pulled those dates from after speaking with Alan, and just if anybody else had any questions about the other impending candidate key dates. Charlie just mentioned the 31st, the last day to qualify as a candidate. And then the primary election, the candidates, I think most of them now are fully aware of their reporting dates and requesting distributions all the way up into through the general election that way. Charlie brought up a question, a good question, and I think we answered it as to what the end of the election cycle meeting period was defined as, and that is after the general election. The other question that I will have to pursue is what happens for an audit of all the distributions that have been approved by the commission and dispersed by me. I learned this long ago, early in the process, but the state does not provide the audit process. So I will need to speak with my superiors to find out how that happens, how stringent it is. Is it just a regurgitation of what we've already seen? But that I will have to resolve as we get closer to the general election to know what is required of us.
Thank you for bringing that up. Can you remind us of when that audit is due?
Okay, I'm not even sure myself. Alan brought it to my attention when
Okay.
somebody brought it to his attention. He said, and Jared reminded him by him being new. He said, I don't do audits. Jared reminded me the audit is on you.
Okay.
So I will find out. I'll look in the dates that are required and find out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
While we're here, I'm looking at that timeline.
You want me to go back?
Candidates for office, who are, who don't participate in primaries. So if there are third-party candidates or that don't participate in primaries, they would still have had to, well, I guess the question is, if you are a candidate who participates in who is with a party that does not have a primary, and I don't know anything about the Republican Party, I assume they have a primary and not a convention. But there are, say, the Green Party has they have a convention in which they nominate a candidate. That usually doesn't happen until this summer. How do those candidates enter the process if we have as a that the deadline to certify is the 31st of March.
I will confirm this. I spoke to Alan about that last week. And I think when we were speaking about that 31st date, regardless of the party, you still have to be registered by the 31st to be on any ballot, if I understand your question. But I will confirm that with him.
Okay, I think that's something that we definitely have to go back and look at. Not that
Okay.
because it seems to me if you like for the people who are in the general election, they won't know they're on the general election until after the 31st. They're in the primary. And you can't, if you're entering, you I guess that my sticking question, and I just want to clarify this because I don't want to be challenged on it, is
Okay.
that if there's a party that doesn't know that there is who their candidate is going to be until after the 31st, then they are effectively barred from participating, or we're telling them that they have to move their convention up until the spring. And I
will.
just
Yeah.
wonder from a legal perspective
Okay.
if that's
I will get an answer to that tomorrow.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I will find out because we did have one candidate last week that challenged Alan on that very topic. I don't know the party affiliation,
Mm-hmm.
but that 31st date, if I'm understanding the same scenario, was
It's the same.
set. Yeah,
Okay.
but I will confirm it and I'll check with Jeff too.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
It
thank
feels
you.
like this will probably come up in other jurisdictions, so hopefully there's a knock on wood, simple answer to the
Mhm.
question, but we'll see.
Okay. Okay, and then, thank you for that, Charlie. We have, I did get an update from Nina in the mayor's office. We still have remaining 3 nominations. I think all of them are due from the city council president's office. Nina said, however, she will confirm with Shanella, who has been pulled in to assist with this process. Do a soft audit also to make sure that the mayor has met his nomination and in terms of number and definition of what the background of each candidate should be, and then getting those remaining seats from the nominations from the city council president's office filled as soon as possible. So I will follow up with them. I'll give them until next week. It's a busy time down there.
Mhm.
And then we'll go back again. Again, I confirm with my director where we stand with distributions, and my schedule gets better and better, I think, in terms of clarification. We were talking about it a little bit earlier before you came online, Charlie, and this is the current distribution schedule. And what I think it provides more clarity in tracking each campaign, the distribution dates.
Mhm.
They may be off a day or two or so from the date the commission approves for me to make the disbursement and the date that I actually get that disbursement out of the door. So you will see now that I have the approval for SNEED 6, I will update that with tomorrow's date when I do the transmission, and likewise for Zach. And then you will see this is SNEED's total. That $50,000 boost is included. her 375 total is the 425, the 375 plus the 50, which actually gives her the 425.
Okay.
To date, she's accumulated, including today's approval, 237, and she has 187 still that she can receive. So that's how I've been tracking that. You'll see that where Zach has maxed out, he actually went over a little bit to his credit, but the matching was only up to the 125. The reason I think we could possibly go over, Theroux is not a new to the political arena. He knows lots of people. He gets a $200,000 boost. He's a mayoral candidate. So he could potentially walk away, right? And so if accounting is telling me that there are no plans for further appropriations for 25 or the foreseeable future,
Mhm.
this helps the commission make its case, as well as what finance the budget side will decide to do. But the Rude knows a lot of people. He's been around for a minute, so it could
Yes.
happen.
Yes. So we're saying, did Wendy Bozell hasn't actually, she'd qualify, she would get a boost if she qualified for the boost.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
and
as well as
she
Theroux
was one
and
of the first
Shannon.
candidates to come out to participate in the program as a mayoral candidate. So
Mhm.
that could happen as well.
Okay,
And Shannon Wright just recently came on.
okay. And we're saying there's 1.6 left in the fund.
Yes.
Okay.
So we started with 2 million, and that ties back. So to date, we have 1.6 remaining.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's not a lot.
No, and that's,
And I also
also
sent it, I'm
has to
sorry, go
carry us to
ahead.
the general election.
Yes, I also sent this, well, it's sent and will continue to send to Bob Senemy, to my director, my deputy director, and of course, the commission and Bob's assistant director. So everybody knows where we are, because I'm sure city council will hear about it if we run out of funding far before the election.
Absolutely.
And the other issue that came up this week, let's see, I think I pulled the email up speaking about potentially running out of funds. Shannon Sneed sort of sent out an SOS. She was concerned about the amount of out-of-pocket money that she spent on her own campaign. She spoke with Alan. Alan and I spoke with Jeff for clarification. And the bottom line, going back, was that she can be reimbursed, but not prior to her letter of intent. And then only as far back, let's see what it says. There was an issue going back too far in time. She wanted everything from the time that she established her email, her website. So that was a problem. So reimbursement can only be made for expenses within the same reporting period. That would mean you cannot seek reimbursement for expenses before, in her case, 1/10/24, the end of the annual report period. And so he directed her to the summary guide pages 68, 67, where it spells it out.
Okay.
So so not only do we have disbursements, we have candidates that could also have sizable personal expenses that they may be eligible for. And think some of that, I didn't look at the detail very closely on Shannon Sneed's 6 distribution. Some of that may be in that because she wanted reimbursement right away, and I'm not sure. But
But you
that's
said
going,
but it's within the same financial period.
yes,
So, and even those reimbursements count toward your max
they do.
of,
They do. They're just not, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yep.
Okay.
So that's why I say it may actually, a little bit of it may be in that last distribution request. Because it came right after that question. She said, I want to be reimbursed right away for what I can. So there, we may have a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see. And then we spoke about the RU. Alan just wanted to give me a heads up that it looks like he will probably qualify. I don't know what that looks like yet. He said, but just to give me a heads up, he wanted to let me know that.
there's the one-time boost.
Yes,
Yeah.
for the mayoral candidates, it's 200,000.
This is a question for the commission. If there's 1.6 left, at some point we have to decide, when do we weigh in and start to budget? And fortunately the primary isn't that far away, and fortunately there shouldn't be a huge amount of expenses for the general election for city races. But at what threshold do you think is we need to start thinking about at what threshold is reasonable for us to come in and say, okay, we have to limit the match that we're doing? And is it a one to, is it the full one to, one of the things that's within our purview is to change the match rate or how we're matching. And if we're looking at the 1.6, with possibly 3 candidates for mayor, getting a $200,000 boost, that brings us down to $1 million. Do we want to say, 200,000 of the $1 million is gonna be for the general election, and so we're looking at $800,000 potentially to match during the primary, or some figure in that ballpark.
The idea of changing the rules in the middle of the game on these candidates feels bad to me, and also like it would kick up a lot of controversy that we don't want. And so I guess I'd prefer to basically come out after the election and say there's no program for the fall unless the city council allocates more money. I guess that would be my initial proposal here,
I
as opposed
agree to
to going back to, I think through will be all over the paper. Like, I don't know. The idea, it seems like trying to communicate a change of the rules, and at this point in the game seems like it would be a PR nightmare.
I'm not saying, well, I agree, and it would be just unfair to change the rules, but we are given the, that is one of the things we're tasked with. And what I'm suggesting is that, not that we're gonna change the amount match right now, but that looking ahead at the budget, looking ahead at what's left, to start thinking about at what point do we say, oh, we really need to rethink that. And maybe it is after, let's revisit it after the primary to see who actually comes up, and we can say there's no more money. I think the worst case scenario would be, that, we would somehow run out of funds before the primary.
So maybe to avoid that worst case scenario, we decide now not that we're not going to change the rules unless we absolutely have to, because we would run out of funds. And we decide now when we would have that discussion. So maybe like when we get to 1 million left in the fund, which would be half the money, and we pick a certain date by when that happens, when we would need to, really see what's going to happen. Does that, or maybe not?
I mean,
Maybe. Go ahead, Charlie.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to ask if other people had thoughts. I mean, it sounds reasonable. Maybe $1 million is what I was thinking, but if there's a different, if other people have different thoughts, I'd like to hear.
I think what the young lady suggested last, makes sense, makes the most sense. Setting some money aside for primary elections, but we definitely need to make sure we communicate a rules change if that's what's going to take place. So as Sam suggested, there won't be a PR nightmare and people trying to accuse us of doing something that we're not trying to do.
Yeah. Thanks, Tipper. Okay.
Or maybe not the, maybe not for the million actually, but if we look at, can we project the next few weeks of what money we project to give it out?
Well, I think
Because
based on what
we might know that we're going to cross the
we're Nadine, I think, is saying that Theroux is gonna qualify, so he'll automatically get the match, but we don't have an idea of what else he's getting with the match.
Right.
Alan in the past has also given me a monetary heads up. I could sort of ask for a soft touch. He might have some sort of guesstimate.
Okay.
For example, I know when Johnson was trying to make qualification, Alan was helping him by giving him a heads up of where he was in that plight. And so he was doing the same for me, saying he's not quite there. So I could ask him for a soft benchmark and report back.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But this is a topic I think we're going to have to revisit. Based on the numbers, we don't have to revisit it next month, but if we can get an idea of the numbers, that tells us whether we can make it to the primary, which is just 2 months away.
Yeah, do you think, Charlie, just process-wise, maybe right after the primary, I think we should, at this outset of each election, we should communicate something that we can point back to if we need to change the match at a later date, because I think what's going to feel really bad for folks is if they feel like they thought they were operating under one set of rules and they communicated that to their supporters, and then they have to go back on that. So I think maybe whatever the first mission, I guess we can put an agenda item on for the first meeting after the primary to communicate what that is for the general. I think we should do that. I'll make a note now in my calendar.
Okay.
And this is an aside, but since we're talking about catching up with Jared, did anybody happen to, I sent out a link to the Mako meeting today, where Jared was speaking briefly about the poll book update. I was able to log on, and essentially the long and short of it is the state, we currently use poll books to sign people in, you know, the little data pad that we see when we go to vote. Well, there was a contract that the city initiated, and I forgot the name of the company, that completely imploded to the tune of over $7 million. That the program was to establish new tablets, new software, new everything to better improve that check-in election process. It imploded completely to the point where the state is now at ground zero. And they have filed suit to recoup the 7 million, that the contract was for more than 7 million, but to recoup the 7 million that the state has since laid out since signing that contract. And so we're going to, I think they purchased another 100 and maybe 40, 38, 40 new tablets. They're trying to purchase as many more as they can before the primary, and hope that things continue to run smoothly, not with the improvements that they were hoping for, while they pursue being hopefully refunded the outlay, that $7 million, and then look for a new vendor. So that's what the poll book update was about from Jared, and apparently initiated maybe back in 21 or 22, something like that. And was cranking along until it wasn't. So
We know who to blame.
yes. So that's what it was. But it was good to see him briefly on camera. So Alan is still trying, you know, this time of year at the state. You feel how swamped we are. You can imagine what they're going through. And he is going to continue to send me job notices as well, that I forwarded. He said he very much enjoyed meeting with us last month, and feels that we have a wide range of experience, that knows some very good people that he would love to have you send his way when he has positions available. So he will continue to do that. And then we're down to guidelines for the Fund Commissioners Campaign. I think we received some feedback last meeting from Jeff with some clarity, and the discussion began last meeting to continue this meeting as to how the commission would like to establish guidelines and what those guidelines should look like to implement and follow with respect to volunteering, contributions, things of that nature. And then at that point, once you determine what that looks like, the commission will take a vote. And that go to the commission.
Is there somebody who would be interested in taking a look at what the other commissions around the state have, and then, you know, carving, you know, allowing us to edit that, or coming up with some baseline that we can then customize? John's not here. Normally, I would say this is a John thing that he would probably want to do, but I don't want to voluntold him since he's not here to defend himself. Is there anybody else that's interested or has a capacity? Because I think it's easier for us to react to something. Do you all agree? It's easier to read something and react to it than come up. Oh, great, Sam. Thank you. So Can I suggest that for our next meeting, we prepare something for our next meeting and then we can react to that in our next meeting? That work for everybody? Okay, excellent. I think we're all busy and probably, it's always easier to react to something, and see how other people, especially Montgomery County, has been doing this for several years now. We can take some pointers from them. So we're gonna push that off, Nadine, to next meeting.
Okay, I'll carry it over.
But Sam and I are gonna work on developing uh 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 an outline that the commissioners can read and edit.
And I have a copy of Montgomery County's summary guide. It's far more, like Charlie just said, extensive than ours or Howard. And I know you can pull down a digital copy offline. It's just called the Public Election Fund Montgomery County Summary Guide. And you just go to the website and download it. But just looking at the size of it, I can't imagine it wouldn't be something in there to help us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll read too. The more I learn, the better I am as well. So. Anybody else have any other questions or concerns or new matter?
Yep. Okay, well, with no new business, and did we have any guests on? I can't. Okay. Well, then with that, if there's no new business, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Then we are adjourned at 6:21 p.m.
With lots of daylight left.
with lots of
Yeah.
daylight and warm weather left.
Enjoy the weather and the
That's
week, everyone.
wonderful. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody.
Thank
Our
you.
next
Thank
meeting will
you.
be April 10th.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Enjoy the weather.
Bye. Thanks for joining, Sam.